I think everyone is there. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Hi, everyone. My name is Singeli Agnew. I'm a member of the Overseas Press Club and also a journalist and filmmaker. And I want to welcome you to our first panel from a new series that the OPC is doing that we're somewhat unironically calling In the Thick of It. The idea behind this is that we wanted to gather veteran journalists in places facing acute reporting challenges, both to discuss the current dynamics on the ground and as well as ways of working around those difficulties in reporting. And as a lot of you may know today, there's unrest unfolding in Port-au-Prince literally as we speak, which I think highlights just how tricky the concept of this series is. So a couple of our panelists, Sanon from the AP and Jacqueline Charles from the Miami Herald, are literally in the middle of reporting right now. Andre Paultre, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name right, has joined us as well, and he's been out all day. Natalie's following it, as is Macollvie, Neel. So I just wanted to highlight that we're really doing this on a difficult day for the journalists because yesterday, 6 police officers were killed by gang members in Artibonite, and today Port-au-Prince is there's been protests in the streets all day. The airport was blockaded. These guys will talk a little bit more about what's happening, but we're missing a few of our panelists and hoping that they can join us somewhat as they get back to their homes. So I wanted to first start by introducing our panelists. Macollvie Neel she lives in Brooklyn, and she's the executive editor of the Haitian Times, as well as being a longtime writer, editor, and communications consultant. The Haitian Times was founded in 1999 to fill a growing need among the Haitian diaspora. And currently they have several full-time staff in Port-au-Prince, also Cap Haitian, I believe. And I think you said that you're doing something like 30,000 stories a year. Did I have that right?
30,000 feels like it, but not that much yet. Not
so we're really happy to have you here with us, Macollvie. Thank you. Natalie Kitroeff, just find my little bio for you, Natalie. One moment. Natalie moved to Mexico City for the New York Times in 2020 and has been responsible for some incredible reporting during her time there. She was part of the team that won the 2021 Polk Award, was a Pulitzer finalist for her coverage of the assassination of Haiti's president. And last fall, she was named the New York Times bureau chief for Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. And she's continued to do some incredible, brave and heart-wrenching coverage of the region during her time there. I worked with Natalie briefly at the New York Times when she was one of the star business reporters based in New York, doing big investigation into the fatal flaws of the Boeing 737 MAX jets. Let's see, Andre. Andre has been working closely with Natalie over the last several months and has been, I think, working for the New York Times going back more than a decade. He's going to be joining us with audio only today, but Andre, we're really glad to have you, and exciting to have also 2 people who've been working together who can speak both from, from the international press perspective and then from the Haitian perspective. Sanon, we are waiting on, but hoping that he can join us. He's been out reporting for the AP today and has been working for the AP, I think, since 2004. And almost every day you'll see his byline with stories from Haiti. Also, hoping to be joined by Jacqueline Charles from the Miami Herald. And again, if you put Haiti into Twitter, most of the articles that come up are Jackie Charles's articles. She's an absolute veteran of Haiti coverage. And let me just find her. She started at the Miami Herald as a 14-year-old intern, and she's basically been blessing us with her coverage ever since. She covered the first and second return of President Aristide, the earthquake in 2010, and basically everything in between. And she's covering a story right now, and hopefully, and it's, I've been in touch with her today, but we'll see if she can join us. So thank you, everyone who's here. I really appreciate it, especially on a day when it's incredibly tense and lots going on. And you all, your phones are blowing up, I'm sure, right now. Andre, I'd like to start with you, just kind of bringing us up to speed on what's happening today.
Hi, hello, everyone. Well, it's unclear what's still happening in Haiti because very late last night, we knew that some streets were already blocked and they were burning tires. And but it was not clear who was doing that. Was it from the police officers on duty or from members of the population? We don't know. But early this morning, we have seen some, should I say, police officers? I don't know, because they were wearing police uniforms. They were stopping cars. They were taking keys from the drivers, using cars, trucks, to block the traffic. And then there was that's where it's not clear, because if you follow the news in Haiti, during Jovenel's rules, we had what they call the Phantom 509. So the movement that we have seen today is very close to what we have seen during Phantom 509. That means police officers on duty, police officers fired from the police corps or resign. And then because they had the police uniforms on, they were covering their face. They did not want to show their IDs, so it was not clear to say, are they real police officers or not? But we know from some police unions, because now we have 2 police unions, that the police, the cops, they were very unhappy from the passivity of the high staff police commander, because they consider that within 5 days, 10 cops were killed by armed gangs, 6 yesterday and 4 or 5 days ago in Pétionville. And I think that we have a total maybe of 15, almost close to 15 police officers were killed by armed gangs only for the month of January. And I think that we give an average of more or less 5 police officers killed per month during Ariel's Henry as prime minister. So we have a total about close to 80 cops killed. So the prime minister was coming from Argentina, from the CELAC summit. And then so those cops, with the support of some members of the population, they went to the airport to stop the prime minister to be able to go home. By the time another group went to where they call the official residence of the prime minister, which is not his residence really, it's more his office, because his for official office is located downtown Port-au-Prince, and it's in gang control area, so he cannot go there. So the private residence is used as his office, and so they went to the compound. I don't think they've been able to enter the building itself, but they smashed some cars outside. They took some cameras outside. They were really unhappy, and then they went to the airport, and the prime minister arrived. He could not leave, So he was stuck there for a while. And some guys outside of the airport, they broke some windows, doors, and there was a big panic at the airport. Employees felt like really at risk. I think that Spirit could not land for security measures. They were diverted to Jamaica. So finally, the Prime Minister made his way out, and but the protesters followed his convoy, his motorcade, and they were still shooting in the air. So he made it to his residence in Vivi Mitchell, and the area was also surrounded by protesters, by police officers, maybe. And so we know that he has the Prime Minister now is back to his residence, and he has the police corps as well as some soldiers from the army securing his compound. So there was a deadline for that the protesters asked the high staff commander to react to what happened to the police officers. The deadline was at 6 o'clock, like expired like 14 minutes ago. And then, so we don't know what's going to happen next. What's going to happen tonight? What's going to happen tomorrow? Will the airport be closed? We don't know. You know, Haiti is always unpredictable. And now we're just in the middle of a chaos. And things might go back to normal, which will not be the first time, but also it can be worse.
Great, thank you. Evans, I just wanted to give you a welcome. Thanks for joining us, and especially today when we know that so much is going on. Really appreciate it. Are you going to be on video?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you and welcome. I think.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we're really happy to have you. I introduced you before you got on, so your reputation precedes you.
I've been trying to connect. It's been a little bit impossible with the connection. I don't know what went wrong. Something went wrong, but now it's back. I'm back. I'm on now.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to have, especially. I think Natalie and Macollvie, you guys can address this as well. My last trip to Haiti was in 2019. The environment now is completely different, and everyone has had to change how they're working. And I wanted to just kind of dive into that. Natalie, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of the New York Times coverage recently and how you guys have had to change how you're operating on the ground?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me and everybody else on this panel. I'm a huge fan of everybody on this panel. Today is just an example of how unpredictable, as Andre said, things can be in Haiti, and so much more so for folks who are working on the ground every day. And so I just want to acknowledge that for those of us in the New York Times who get to work with people like Andre, we really do benefit from the kind of expertise and the knowledge and the wherewithal and instinct, really, that comes from reporting on the ground in Haiti and knowing how to evaluate a situation as it changes, and it can change so quickly. But yes, I mean, obviously it's very difficult to operate in a place where things can change at such a rapid pace, and where things, Andre can speak to this as much as me, when we do reporting in Haiti, we're evaluating moment to moment, street to street, the risks. And so, a street that was safe yesterday is not safe today. A street that was safe an hour ago, there was a kidnapping. And so, we're in a situation in which we are forced to be very flexible and to move very quickly, and to be really, I think, and I think Andre can speak to this as much as me, kind of aware of how we carry ourselves in each place that we go, and willing to really change up. So, flexibility is the number one thing on the ground in Haiti. You have to be very attentive. I mean, we have a security team on the ground with us, and you work very closely with folks who are telling you minute to minute what route you can take whether a reporting trip here or there is feasible, whether something has happened on the way that might change your plans. And so I think, us as reporters, we always want to get the story, and we always want to be there in the action. And the thing is, we have to worry about the safety of folks that are working there on the ground all the time. And so, I work very closely with Andre, and everything that we do can affect his work. And when we leave, he stays. And so, you have to be both aware of your situational security for yourself and your team, and long-term for the people that are around you, and the risks that you could take to get a story right now, how that could affect the people that you're working with when you leave. So, I mean, I want to open the floor to folks that are there for much longer than me, but these kinds of things today give you a sense of of a little bit of what we deal with.
I'm going to go back and forth with some questions of my own, but there's also questions coming in from audience members that I'm going to field. And one that's coming in that I think is appropriate to ask now. And Evans, I might have you address this quickly because there's so much to say, but in brief, just helping people understand the big picture. Is this a battle between the gangs and the government? Like, what is actually the conflict?
My understanding of the conflict is more elections that are citizens or that involved in politics are trying to take ground through gangs members, and that's been for decades. We had that problem that exists, and that it extended more in the capital because the capital is at the center of decisions, and that certain areas of the city is seized and is continually seized by gang members, and these gang members are all affiliated with different political groups and different social groups in society, and that it makes it worse because these are people that you're interviewing sometime, and that are affiliated with these gang members, and you don't really know what level the friendships are.
Mm-hmm.
And that it makes it a little scary and sketchy that dealing with politicians and that has leaders, they have armed groups on the ground, and you always worry about after they made a statement how they're gonna react after the statement come out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is scary. And then a lot of people are afraid nowadays
Mm-hmm.
to go directly to the problem.
Right. I want to pause for a sec to welcome Jacqueline Charles. Thank you.
Hi.
What a day.
Sorry, I'm on deadline, so I'm just dropping in. It's been a crazy day.
If we only have you for a moment, what is the most important thing that you can tell us?
I mean, look, it's interesting because everybody's sort of seeing what happened today, and I actually happened to have been on the ground at the airport, and I was on the tarmac. So, the point of view was very interesting because I was getting all of this stuff on social media from people about what was happening. The PM is stuck, is hiding, is this, is that. And from where I was, it was not the case. There was other things that were going on. So that's one of the things that I always say, with Haiti, I think that one of the mistakes that a lot of journalists make is like, when you talk to people will tell you something and they'll be very factual about it. And this is the place where rumors become facts. And so you really have to really just have your reporting chops. And sometimes you just have to look at the source of the information and then try to figure out, can you get it from someplace else? You know, one of the big problems, and Evans can speak to this, is that you have a government that doesn't talk, right? So you're trying to report, like I'm trying to report on today, events that happen, and I'm calling the police spokesperson and I'm screaming at him, and I'm like, I need facts. I need, you need to give me something. And when nobody's giving you anything, it's very easy to kind of like make a mistake. Or sometimes you have people who you think that they are in a know that they should know, but they don't know. So that was like a lesson for me today, because I know, like, if I was in Miami and watching this, I probably would have repeated some of the things, because I'm like, oh, you talk to these people, so sure, but because I was like there on the ground and I was seeing what was unfolding, from where I was at, that's when I knew that some of the stuff was not happening. I think, definitely what Evans was telling you, I mean, everybody's afraid to talk. We get beat up by talking to the same people because they're the ones who are courageous enough to talk. Getting around here it's not easy. I mean, I work at the Miami Herald. I do not have the luxury of getting security and paying for security. And even sometimes with that, like, you don't know who's connected to whom. So you don't know who is keeping eyes on you. And sometimes I tell people, it's not what you're paying them that gets your loyalty. It's like, you gotta find somebody who's loyal to someone else, and their loyalty is to that other person, so it transfers to you. They're not going to be loyal to you because you're paying them. So yeah, it's sketchy. I mean, it's just this is a very volatile place. Look, last week I was in the north. I was in Cape Haitian. I did something completely irresponsible, but I was on the border and I got caught there late at night, and I had to go back to Cape Haitian, which is an hour and a half. So I'm on a dark road with no lights, and you're in a car. But at the same time, it was a little refreshing, because my heart was not like, oh my God, like, that fear that you have, right? That you should have here. But at the same time, I was very much aware that while this is happening in Cape Haitian and everything seems to be calm, what happened today in Port-au-Prince, it could easily happen there. It can just, it just switches. And you really have to just talk to a lot of people in a lot of different places and viewpoints to sort of figure out what's really feeling it. Haiti is what you see is not what you get. The best advice I ever got was from a former US ambassador who said to me, you and I might be looking at a car coming down the road. I ask you what color it is. You say it's white. I say it's red. We're both wrong. We're both right. That's, you just always having to have that, in mind. And also, we're all journalists. We like to be competitive, but this is a place where you really have to rely on each other. Trying to do it one man by yourself, it gets you isolated and it doesn't get you anywhere. Those of us who are consistently covering with Haiti, will say, hey, what's the temperature today? Can you go here? Can you go there? So we just always, try to have our networks, but it's a dangerous place for journalists. I mean, I'm still dealing with, journalists that I've known that have been killed or have been assassinated, survive assassination attempts, and you just don't know it. Today, there are no sacred cows in this country anymore.
One question before, again, I'm just aware we might lose you any minute. When you look ahead for this coming year, what do you think could unfold over the next few months?
Look, I mean, I think the biggest challenge right now is like democracy is under fire, because, while those of us who are here in the foreign press, we're covering it and we're covering certain stories, and, yes, sometimes I'm writing 5 stories a day, but I'm not that local reporter. And when you have local reporters in having safety issues and they cannot get into neighborhoods anymore, we are losing that. And that is not getting a lot of attention, in terms of, the need for these local journalists to be supported and what's happening to them. For the coming year, I mean, honestly, I was joking last year and said, yeah, I'll be back when they're like, an international force. But after this week's UN meeting, I am not hopeful at all, despite the fact that everybody recognized that this is the worst that it's been. But I didn't feel that sense of urgency here. And today what we're seeing is sort of a meltdown in the police. You know, is it being manipulated? Is it being fanned by other things? Of course, but a lot of it is also genuine frustration. And you're talking about a country of 12 million and 9,000 police officers who have like really real gripes. So I think that just speaks also to the volatility. Like you just strike a match and it could just blow. I mean, you know, those of us who've been doing this, we just can't predict, because when you think that it can't get any worse, it does.
I think that's a really good pivot. Macollvie, you and I spoke a lot about the capacity build, the sort of need for capacity building and the work you're doing with your team at the Haitian Times, and just, you know, the loss, as so many Haitians have had to leave, Haitian journalists have had to leave under threat. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of Haitian journalists to the foreign coverage as well? You know, it's just sort of that dynamic of how important.
Yeah, I think 2021 was a pivotal moment for the Haitian Times, because that's when we realized that going to Haiti regularly, right, to check the temperature, as it were, or do some actual reporting projects was just not feasible anymore because of the rising kidnappings, the killings, all of that, right? And we no longer had as many people as we used to rely on the ground to provide us with quality information about what was happening within Haiti. And by quality, I don't just mean, here's what happened today, but thinking through like the credibility of the source you're speaking with, their potential motivations or agendas, whom their affiliations might be, all of that just became sort of like a black box for us in a lot of ways. And so we decided, instead of trying to work with, you know, finding people who could do that, because there are only a handful left, and some of the panelists here are them, right? We couldn't do that. We had to figure out a different way. And so, being the entrepreneurial people that we are, you know, Gary, our founder, Gary Pierre, we had lots of discussions around this and decided the way to go was really to try to build what was missing ourselves by forming this boot camp where we can train journalists in Haiti on how to cover stories, and benefit the Haitian Times from actually getting that content out there, and also try to build what we feel is missing in Haiti, which is a new core, or rather a credible, trained core of reporters who may become the next generation of media leaders in Haiti. Because when you have, you know, like Jackie said, a political vacuum, right? Democracy is at stake is what we're saying here. It's not just the politics alone, right? It permeates everything else. And the media, the way it's been manipulated by the politicians, the business elites, just everybody, right? It's a key target, right? A key way that people go and put out what they want to put out. So that's the main shift we've made in the Haitian Times in our 24-year history, is to go from doing regular trips to Haiti every once in a while, working with journalists on the ground to get photos and images and stories, and actually trying to fill that gap ourselves as much as possible.
Thank you. That's great. I'm getting a lot of questions from the audience. Natalie and Andre, maybe you could help with this. Just more desire to understand the dynamic between the government and the police. Walk us through what I really wanted Andre and Natalie also to talk about, is how, you know, you guys are working as a team. And I want to hear a little bit about that, but maybe you could address a twofold question. Lead us through some of the recent stories that you've done together on the ground, and also help us understand what exactly the dynamic is and how you're navigating it. Natalie?
I was side texting Andre, telling him to take the first question. Andre, are you there? Okay, well, if he's, oh, good, he's here. Go.
Yes, I'm here, but you can go. I will just follow you on this.
Okay, well, I mean, okay, well, I'll talk about how we work together, which is, you know, I mean, I think generally speaking, what Jackie said is so spot on. You know, we rely on each other so much as the press corps in general in Haiti. And I think, I mean, I work in Mexico, you know, one of the most dangerous countries in the world for journalists. And so, and I think we learn here, and we learn in a lot of the countries that we work, that it's so important to rely on each other and to really help each other and to serve as sources for each other. You know, sometimes some of the best sources that we have in the countries that we work are our colleagues. And so, of course, you know, there's competition but I've always found that in scenarios like this, there's so much collaboration. I mean, I have journalists in Haiti texting me right now, you know, like we all talk all the time, and really the people on the ground are really, I mean, so Andre, I will talk about Andre, even though I would prefer that he talk about himself. You know, we have, Andre's been working with us for a really long time, and the way that we work together is, I don't know. I mean, just we really try. I think the thing that brings people together in a lot of this is this intense desire to have the truth get out and the obstacles that you face in doing so. So when you can't even get to the places that you want to go, and you know, you're finding just basic obstacles to even seeing the things you want to see. So, you know, when cholera started to break out, how do you get to Cité Soleil? How do you get to Cité Soleil? I mean, you know, this is just a really basic question. And it just is a day-to-day thing. And I think, I mean,
how do you get to, I mean, how are you actually figuring that out on a day-to-day basis?
Andre, I'm going to let Andre take this one. I mean, I rely so much on Andre is the reality, and on my colleagues and on a lot of people that I'm talking to every day. But I mean, it takes a lot to be able to get to different, I mean, it depends on the day, right? So it's just sort of like, I don't know, Andre, how do you get to Cité Soleil on any given day? How do you get there when cholera is breaking out? How do you get to a place where people are, how do you get to the clinics and the treatment centers? I think you are better placed to answer that than me.
Thank you, Nat. First of all, I will say that in Haiti, it's important to have many contacts in different neighborhoods. So before you go there, you can check on them. Hey, what is the situation today? What was the situation yesterday? Can I go? I'm going alone today, or I'm going with a team. I have some foreigners, which is like, you know, as we say in Haiti, white people coming with me. So, you know, they will attract attention of people as soon as we get to the field. So what is the situation? So first of all, there's a synergy in our group between Natalie and myself, but also we trust each other, and I trust also my contacts on the field. So before we go to anywhere, I need to double check. And now the new element is that since the assassination of President Moïse, we have been mostly working with a security team. So we need to also have the approval before we go to anywhere. And that's why it's good also to work with locals, because I've experienced working with foreigners, security advisors who rely only on the phone, on news, who doesn't know the reality of the field. And working with locals, this is completely different. And this is where we play a big role. And where, if I say to Natalie, well, we cannot go today, she will trust me. And we say, where can we go there? We say, maybe tomorrow. So it's a day by day situation. And I said, and I think Natalie said that at the beginning, we got to be very flexible in Haiti. And even during the day when you are at the field working, you got to always pay attention of your surroundings and keep in touch with the people, you know, and be as nice as you can, because you don't know who's going to help you out with a situation. You know, you can be in a place where your contacts cannot help you, but Haitians, you know, we have that hospitality, you know, that solidarity. So when you go to a place, you say hi to everyone, they're happy, and you give them the value that they have, and then they feel happy, and you connect with them. So this is what you always look for, the connection with the people that you're going to visit, and also with the people that you're working with. And Port-au-Prince has become very dangerous. When I look through for the recent years, where now no-go areas, it's like everywhere is a no-go now. More than 70% of the capital now is under gang control, and very upscale place like Pétionville or La Boule, for people who knows Port-au-Prince, where people always felt like safe. Now they are friends of mine who left a pretty nice house, and now because of gangs, and now they are living in another neighborhood where they have to rent an apartment. So it's important. It's important to trust your locals. It's important to understand the situation. Also, I've seen many journalists, reporters coming from abroad, coming to work to Haiti, and they think that, oh, in 3 days I can do a story, in 5 days I can do another story. Well, it doesn't work that way in Haiti. Sometimes it can take a couple of weeks before you can really have your story ready, because it's not like you take your phone, you make a few phone calls, and then you get all the interviews that you need, you get all the information that you need. Look what Jackie just said. We have like a police spokesperson. Sometimes he is very happy to talk to you. Sometimes he doesn't take any calls. You have also a group working with the Prime Minister when you try to collect information from the Primature, from the Prime Minister's office. It's not easy. We have a communication minister that sometimes it's hard to get on the phone. So Haiti is not that easy. And you got to be patient, flexible. You need to love people, and you know, develop some qualities. And that's why when you are in Haiti, it's hard for you to leave after that because you're stuck here.
Natalie, have you had, what has been the appetite for coverage of Haiti at the Times, and how have you, what are the decisions around? I mean, given how difficult and slow and insecure things are, what are the decisions that go into when you do and don't cover something?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we've tried to do as much Haiti coverage as we possibly can, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do, relying on the trust and the support of Andre and so many others that have really helped us out on the ground there. My colleague Maria, who's just did incredible work, and so many of our sources, honestly. I mean, the thing is that the paper wants good stories and wants good reporting, and I think we have been convinced that what's happening in Haiti is one of the most important and consequential moments in the region. I mean, I cover more than a dozen countries, and I spend a lot of time on Haiti, and that's because it matters a lot to us and to the paper. And you know, I think it's not easy, obviously, because of a lot of what we're saying. Like, it can be very difficult. You have to go for a lot of time, and you don't know what you're going to get, because it's not like you know, and a lot of there's a lot of hard countries that I cover, you know, covering gangs in Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala is not easy either. You know, there's a lot of violence in Latin America and the Caribbean. But there is something that is really unique about Haiti, which is that the scenario on the ground is so volatile. And so, you know, I think I am so happy about how much coverage there's been, how many of these colleagues on this panel have done a lot of coverage, and people that are watching I know are doing a lot of coverage. You know, I think we all work together to kind of bring Haiti onto the fore every day. And so it's not just, it's by no means just the Times. In fact, it's much more the folks that are on this panel that are doing this every day that really do shine a spotlight on it and then make it, I think, impossible for the decision makers in Washington to ignore it. You know, the AP, the Haitian Times, the Miami Herald are just the beginning. There's so many people on the ground that are doing this every day. And I think we all share this responsibility, you know, and I think we all feel that it's a real responsibility, you know, because there's a lot going on. There's a war in Ukraine right now, you know, and so we're trying to do our best to shine a light when we can. I mean, I think we all are doing that. So,
Jackie, now that we have you back, you know, I think it's easy for people who aren't following Haiti on a daily basis to see these headlines, gangs, violence, and not really understand the context and the nuance of what the political situation is and what's really at the root cause of all this. I mean, can you first give us a primer, if you could, about really the root of the power dynamics and what's feeding?
Okay. But before I do that, I wanted to just follow up on something that Andre said. He touched on an important issue about post-Jovenel Moise's assassination, and which adds to the volatility. So last year we went to Port-au-Prince in the Northwest when I was doing my migration series, and there's no airport. So going there by road meant that you could possibly more than likely get kidnapped by gangs, because there were a lot of gang alleyway, corridors. And so we had to charter a plane where you're landing on a road in the middle of a market. And I really did not know how bad things were going to be, in the sense of how we were just not being well received. Like, people were convinced that the Americans and the French had something to do with Jovenel's assassination. You're constantly sort of like under this threat. At the same time, with the economic situation, people want money. So you always have to take into consideration, the people that you're talking to. Are you putting them in danger? Because they see you, a foreigner, talking to them, and they think that you have paid or whatever. And at one point we went to one of the offshoot islands. Me and my colleague was actually temporarily held hostage on a boat, just because these people were, insisting that we had something to do with the assassination. And it just became this very sort of touch and go situation. So I think, I get requests from people all the time, hey, I want to go to Haiti and I want to do this. And I'm like, listen, the days of going to Haiti, especially with your cameras, people are not open to that. Okay, so you also have to get very creative in time. So I would just like to put that out there. And that's been a huge change. People are not necessarily welcoming you. So there's that. The political dynamics. I mean, look, you have a situation here where I always tell people, you may see people sort of, there are no real, there's not a leftist and a rightist, okay? People like to say, oh, this is a leftist, or these people are from the right and a conservative. Ideology doesn't really work in this place. I think that sort of went out the window. I hear people talk about, oh, Lavalas and Aristide. I think we are past that. What happens is that it's basically a competition for power. It's a competition for jobs. I need to get a job. You find people who are well-meaning and they want to go into government, or they think they want to do something for the country and think they can. But the machine, it's the, you know, the bureaucracy. You have people who have been working in government for decades, and they are not open to change. You know, they're not going to computerize. They're not going to do this. They're the people that are going to be sort of undermining. I remember during Rene Preval's presidency, there was a minister, God rest his dead, he since died, but he hired a lot of people. And one of the things that was happening was the people that he hired had to basically give him like kickbacks for his political party because he was creating a war chest for a potential, you know, campaign. And I remember how appalling that was then. And here we are today, and it's almost become common, you know. I remember Jacques-Edouard Alexis, the prime minister, you know, was giving money to deputies in the lower chamber so that they can do pet projects in their communities, and the international community railed against that and called it corruption. Well, post that, we had something called Petrocaribe. So I think that you have to sort of understand the context, and you hit the right word, nuance. This place, there's a lot of nuance, and you have to kind of understand the nuance. And it doesn't mean that you don't quote this person, but you also got to figure out, okay, what's with their beef? You know, where they're coming from? What's their relationship with this and that? So I always like to say, I like to know where the grenades are going to go off, and the landmines are going to go off, you know, so when I step on them, I know they're coming. And so that's what it is. I think, you know, one of the frustrations I know that people on the political terrain has had with me, because, you know, often they also want to use you in their campaign. You have to be very careful not to be manipulated, because they want to get the attention of the quote unquote, the blonde, the white, the Americans. And so they will, you know, yeah, they will do their spin and tell it to you sort of one side. And so you're always, you know, I'm always very sort of reluctant and leery of that. And you know, my editor has no patience now for the incremental in terms of politics. So he's like, okay, wake me up when something huge, you know, changes, because after a while it does sort of get, you know, exhausting. But I think you're always striving to kind of put it into context. The story did, you know, when there were 10 senators, it wasn't just like, oh, the last of the lawmakers, you know, they were there, they weren't doing anything anyway. But it's like, what does that mean? The larger picture about democracy, about the Constitution, about where we've been, and sort of the way forward. So that's always the challenge, because after a while it can get sort of, you feel like, okay, I've done this story already. So you're always looking for, you know, how to pivot forward, how to tell, you know, the question you asked me, sort of the coming year, where do we go? That's what I'm trying to sort of foreshadow, and look for those stories there that are not like, you know, in your face.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Evans and Macollvie, I wanted Evans from just a first person perspective, and Macollvie in terms of the staff, just talk about the risks facing Haitian journalists living in the country. Can you talk about some of, Evans, maybe first, if you could address threats your colleagues have faced, the kinds of pressures that you're under on a day-to-day basis?
Well, what I can share with you is today, through this protest that they had today, and colleagues of mine, like two of them that are recording or taking pictures and doing videos on the ground, were attacked with gun points today. Well, you can't film, and these officers or the former officers dressed in police uniforms were very aggressive to them today. It was a lot of threat to them, so they had to leave a little earlier to leave the protest alone, because they didn't want to allow people to take photos or shoot or do videos. And also, like, nowadays, reporters, you don't have to have a camera, but you're not welcome in certain neighborhoods. Certain neighborhood is very, if you don't have quote unquote contact with the community leader, which is the gang leader in the area, if you go in, you have a chance not to leave the area, or you can leave, you can't leave with your notebook, your recorder, or whatever you have on. The threat is always there. You dealing with it day to day. You know, day to day. You driving around. You going to you going next to the neighborhood. You're not going into the neighborhood. You just around the neighborhood is a threat. Alone, if you know you're a journalist, you're trying to gather information. People are scared to talk nowadays because they're living in these neighborhoods, and most of the time they want to talk anonymously. And for the agency that I work, they're not using anonymous names. They want to know who the person is, what is the background, and so on and so on. You know, journalists were being killed and being targeted just for the work that they do.
I think the CPJ released their report this week on 2022, and there's been a 50% increase worldwide in 2022 on the murders of journalists, and Haiti was, number 3. It was surprising, actually. I think Ukraine was number 1, which you expect, it's a war zone, but then Mexico and Haiti were.
Well, one of the things I wanted to add is that the access that most journalists had in the past, even local journalists and foreign journalists, it doesn't exist anymore. It totally changed and changing. I mean, back in the days, is like you were threatened. Nowadays, you being killed.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that there's any journalism at all. I mean, Macollvie, how are you sustaining your staff there? How are you keeping their will to keep reporting up? How is that?
Yeah, so when we kicked off our boot camp to recruit journalists last year, some of the very first questions they asked were, what kind of equipment are we going to get? Are we going to have Kevlar vests, right? And our answer was no, you're not, because that's not the type of reporting the Haitian Times wants you to do. We don't want you to go out and put yourself in the line of danger just to report that there's another volatile situation and people are being killed. We don't want you to be a CPJ statistic, right? So we've been very upfront, direct about that. We've had to figure out ways to just be creative with how they get information. So there's a lot of WhatsApp conversations and voice notes that happen. There's a lot of requests to their sources, ordinary people, to send them photos of what they're witnessing. So, some citizen journalism, if you will, because we've just had to rely on people who are already in the neighborhoods or the space to actually do more of that legwork for us, so we can focus on adding the context and the nuance and the relevance that our audience is looking for from the Haitian Times. Besides being very upfront about that type of challenge, that is not something we want on our conscience. Even if we could be okay with it, we couldn't afford it because it's very expensive to try to send reporters into that type of environment. We've told them also very explicitly to think of Haiti as a conflict zone. It's a war zone, people are dying left and right. There's no police force. There's no justice system that works. You can't even go in to make a police report about anything because the police are killing each other off themselves, or they're getting into it with the gangs. You don't know who to trust, right? So our best advice to them is just to stay as safe as possible where you are and just work the phones, work WhatsApp, DM people on social media, and do that type of reporting from the safety of wherever you are. And even with that, though, some of the day-to-day challenges they're facing are the personal attacks. The danger comes to them, even if they're not going out there to seek information, right? Like, we've had so many cases of reporters witnessing kidnappings just in their day-to-day, going to the bank to withdraw money for you witness a kidnapping, right? What do you do? How do you not draw attention to yourself and try to make sure you make it back home? So we've been very cognizant that this is, for all intents and purposes, in our minds, a conflict zone. and we have to treat it that way. In terms of like what to do next or how to do it, right? The trade-off when we're figuring out whether it's worth it to actually go out on a certain protest, it's kind of like Evans was saying, you have to check with your contacts to say, is today a good day? Like, is it okay? And you have to know who you're working with, right? But before we greenlight something like that, we have to kind of put it through like that sniff test to say, is it worth it to send somebody out there to get this photo or that quote, or can we get it some other way? And thankfully, our audience at the Haitian Times has been forgiving in not being, you know, the first to report breaking information, because again, that's not what they're necessarily looking for. They're looking for the story behind the story, not just what's happening, but why it's happening and how does it impact them and their families in the diaspora.
How about psychologically? I mean, it must just, you spoke a little bit about how you're supporting.
Yeah, we've had to hold several sessions through the ACOS Alliance and different people who are friends of the Haitian Times to just teach the reporters, right, in Creole, in French, the do's and don'ts of going out to report, right? Things we didn't used to do before, which is tell us where you're going, give us a backup phone number for a family member, a relative, all of that. We've had to actually do and maintain a list like that so that we know if someone isn't answering on WhatsApp, like what's happening, right? We've had a reporter mugged and his laptop and, you know, phones taken. So he was incommunicado for a whole day. Situations like that are really scary. And so we've been trying to be diligent about making sure that there's communication and there's collaboration within the team. And so you'll see a lot of double or triple bylines where one person starts the story and picks it up. So for what it's worth, it's been really heartening to see the level of collaboration on the ground, like between our teams and with other organizations as well, to help us report the stories in a fuller way.
Andre and Evans, what makes a difference for you guys? What sort of things can, you know, the international press do to support the work you guys are doing on the ground?
Unfortunately, the agency that I work for doesn't provide security. So you have to make it out on your own. The only thing that they actually do nowadays is that to send out your location on WhatsApp wherever you move from neighborhoods to neighborhoods. Getting through, you know, the day and certain neighborhoods that you're in, if something goes down, you just have to just sit there calmly, because I don't stand out. I mean, I'm easily fit in and easily could hop on a motorcycle and leave. But when you are working with foreign press, you know, foreigners that are with you, is another ball game. Like for this week, we have like new visitors in our office, and they are foreigners, and then it's hard for them to comprehend, you know, the situation on the ground, because it's the first time ever been in Haiti, and you have several you have to explain it to them several times. They can't comprehend it, they can't register it. The first and the second or the third time I told them. And today, one of them had to witness it, because they didn't know, because they have a term to say, is it le police or la police? Which one is that, the real police or these are kidnappers? And then one of them were out about City Soleil, we were coming back, and we were stopped with gunpoints. And lucky for us, it was the police. It was not the kidnappers dressed in police or uniform. She panicked. She spoke all the language that she understand, because I mean, unfortunately, she had to understand, not because that you know, she don't want to. Journalists has to go and get things done, but certain times you just have to understand that certain contexts, areas are not. You're not allowed to be in these areas at a certain time. You can force yourself to, but yeah, we had some precautions sometimes. And one of them is like today, the panic. I could see the panic. I had to try to keep it down. Calm down, and whatever happens, and we're just gonna go forward. And those are one of the situations today. It's like you have to learn the hard way. Yeah.
Are you guys seeing the audience questions as well? You are, okay, great. Interested to see Marvin's. Thank you for
maybe other people are able to see it, but I'm not able.
You're not seeing it. Yeah. Marvin's Compare, am I saying your last name right? Who I've been speaking with over the last few weeks. He said today, even the policemen feel that they're not safe as this. They took his camera today and deleted most of the photos where their faces appear. I'm cognizant that it's 7 o'clock and you guys are mostly on deadline. I have a million more questions, but I mean, I think, first of all, Natalie, is there anything you would like to add before you sign off, Jackie?
I guess I want to follow up. I mean, Evans touched on something, and I know it's a very touchy issue, and it's like the people in the home office. Like sometimes, they mean well, and they're sending you with a colleague, and they think, oh, okay, this is I'm giving you some protection, but then how do you have that conversation about, no, what you're doing is making me stand out even more? The thing, like when I had my driver, the thing we were going on the street, that was okay, today we're just two Haitians driving down the street. Sometimes you just need that to not stand out. And of course, if you get stopped, then okay, sometimes I'll say something in English, but listen, I've been attacked by the cops. Okay. I literally had a police officer come up to me and basically getting ready to slap me. And the only thing that saved me in that very moment was I actually knew the phone number of the police chief by heart, and I started screaming it out. And he did it to me because my colleague, who was a white photographer, had taken a picture of him hitting this protester, this woman, and he couldn't go after her. I've seen other colleagues, photographers, basically body slammed, by police officers, in the midst of this. Like, just, it's like all bets, are kind of off. But look, if we're not doing this job, then so much of it, goes untold, and for every story that, somebody gets pissed because we got something wrong, well, there's the stories where we got something right, or that at least we brought, attention to it. And that's where you're always struggling about sort of peeling it back and what's the real truth. And sometimes you have to do the same story over and over to peel that layer to get at it, because you're not going to get it on the first, you're not going to get it, right with that line. And it's just finding, editors in the States, they love things in black and white, and Haiti is just not black and white. I mean, it's just not, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and you need that ability to like, as the Haitian Times, to tell the story behind the story.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all so much for being on this. I think we have a few more minutes if there's anyone else who has sort of last words they want to add that they didn't get to say. Everyone's like, I got a story to write.
No, maybe what I can add is like, sometimes it's hard to believe that 2 years ago, I was driving my own soft skin car, with journalists on board, providing security myself, there's no reason to provide security at this time, really, and driving my car easy, we could stop anywhere, have lunch, and now it's completely different. And unfortunately, the logistic now that comes with Haiti is very heavy. It's very expensive as well. And the bad side of it also is the fact that many of my friends who are freelancers now, they cannot afford to come to Haiti with costs so high. And so really, I would like that we could be back to the old time, the way we used to work before, with no security, be able to go anywhere. Could you believe that I used to stay in Soleil until midnight, like 4 or 5 years ago? No. And it was also, I was also very happy every time that someone was coming to Haiti and say, hey, Andre, I've heard about Cité Soleil. Is it a bad place? He said, oh, it's not that bad anymore. Let's go and have a look. You know, we went to Cité Soleil, have a beer, and totally safe, you know. And now it's a total different story, and it's very sad. And I really regret those good times, and I hope that soon we have more coverage from Haiti as well, from media and from freelancers. Thank you very much.
Andre, someone is asking what it's going to take to get back to that Haiti.
Yeah, that will take at least another hour to explain the situation here. But it's I think Jackie said it or someone else said it. We have a political vacuum now, and there's a lot to do, and security is the priority now, and Haitian is trying to make us safe out of Haiti. We have a record numbers of Haitian who have left Haiti on boat in the last 12, 15 months. And now with the new program from Biden's administration, we have so many Haitians trying to make a passport to see if they can leave this country with the humanitarian parole. And now it's, I don't know. It will take a long time. And I hope that we need to get back on our tracks.
And also, I just wanted to add it also, it's not a political will for the situation to get better. If we ever have a political will among the politicians who are hungry for power and could see Haiti is at the point where that is unbearable now, that we have to find a solution. It can happen. And security could be reestablished. But it's the politicians that are fighting among them through these gangs for power.
Yeah, exactly.
One last word, if I may, is I think the thing I'd like to leave the audience with is the fact that we're all trying to do, what we're all trying to do is to humanize Haiti. I see that in the coverage from, the difference between, say, 5-10 years ago with how people talked about Haiti, the tropes, that line about, describing it in terms of
Chorus country
and all of that, right? We've been pushing, groups like us, the Haitian Times, certainly, in going beyond just whatever the easy description is, right, for Haiti. And so I think the more that we continue to keep talking about Haiti like we're doing now, we continue to go take some of those risks on a daily basis, with people like Evans and Andre on the ground all the time. I really commend this entire panel for continuing to do that, because I think the more that we can bring out those voices from the ground in Haiti, whether it is through WhatsApp or by, visiting Cité Soleil or Paultre, I think the more we'll continue changing that narrative arc for Haiti and doing our part as media leaders, as journalists, to really help the country move in the right direction. I think the best and worst thing for the powers that be would be for journalists to give up their hands and say, okay, we're done, we can't do it anymore. But as much as we can, as little as possible on a daily, weekly basis, just continuing to do this work to show Haitians in their element, living their lives day to day, going beyond just the protests happening, I think is really meaningful, not only for Haitians in Haiti or Haitians in the diaspora, but I think just the entire world in general, to see how Haitians are still maintaining that resilience despite it all.
Absolutely. And you guys, I'm so grateful for the work all of you guys are doing. It's amazing. It's a real treat to be in the same space with you. So thank you and keep it up. And I am told we should sign off by that we should sign off now. So I'm gonna end this and let you guys get to your deadlines, but I really appreciate it. And again, just thank you all so much for the work each of you are doing. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.